Well, hello everybody. I just had a little something in my head right now that I wanted to get off my chest at this point. And as you can tell from the title, it's got to do with gaming. Now, just so that you know, I never intended on video games being my background. I originally was doing this to talk about how Hollywood and celebrities and everything sucked ass, but because my videos were getting blocked, because people were harassing and stalking me, I just decided to make it about video games. And I owned all the so-called AAA consoles and played so many AAA games. And I just wanted to discuss this with all of you yet again because I am here for you. So what is a AAA title? Well, it's a title that's more or less geared towards those here in the United States. It's pretty much what I can tell you. Now, people will talk about the budgets, how a lot of them cost 200 to 300 million dollars because of the photography that they utilize and motion capture and hiring actresses and actors to play out the parts in the games and thus produce something that looks realistic. Now, people will say beautiful, but most of these so-called AAA titles are notorious for having ugly women, not men. Men have to have the square jaw and the big burly chests and the muscles and be cut and ripped and all that other stuff. But the women, more or less, can be pretty hideous because, according to the United States especially, women are so empowered nowadays that they can't handle there might be someone better looking than them. So they have to hide that idea. If they want to make it more universal, so now women who didn't give a rat's ass about most video games my entire life, growing up and whatever, now suddenly they're so engrossed in it that they can't have someone look better than them, so they just make every woman look like a fat, ugly piece of shit. But that's for another time and another day. It's gotten so bad, though, that some pathetic little wannabe Bayonetta or Nier Automata or both, Stellar Blade, whom I watched about an hour of, kind of fell asleep and said, wow, this is the same thing over and over again. I've played this 1,000 times before. And the reviews, from what I can tell on this forum, have been pretty much the same thing, with only differentiation being Griffin Gaming, who the dude likes Final Fantasy 15, another game that was putting me to sleep because of its repetitive and boring ass nature. But whatever the case, AAA games are pretty much exclusive to PlayStation, Xbox, which is hilarious because they've only had one actual successful console and not that many really well-known series, and of course PC, seeing as how this is the internet and PC geeks run everything here. So pretty much a AAA game is any of the more popular ones that would be advertised. Now, ignoring the fact that these are not the highest selling games, these are the ones that people make a big deal about. And as I've mentioned, the problem with them is that a lot of people are having issues. So, just so that you know, this is why I stopped. After that God of War disaster on PlayStation 4, I never bought a Sony console again. There were other reasons, of course. They were shitty hardware and whatever. And Xbox never really engrossed me at all. So I just kind of let that kind of die out on its own. There was a time when I was playing through AAA or so-called AAA games, and I did need an Xbox One, but that was one time and that was it. They don't really offer you anything. And most of these companies will focus specifically on their console graphical power, kind of like how sports wants to focus on analytical horse manure while you watch the game and go, these guys don't know what the hell they're doing, do they? They suck, just like your AAA games. But be that as it may, the whole thing about AAA games themselves is that they're lazy, they're stupid, and they're very much what the United States likes. Safe. Somebody else came up with the idea, they stole it, they shit it out in this very haphazard manner. They put all their emphasis on storyline, which, as I've mentioned a million times in the past, is not actually story writing, it's character writing, and these characters are only supposed to be likable, as if we're having a United States-based trial and we have to like the defendant or not like them, whether or not they're guilty or not guilty. But that's the whole point, is that they make you try to like these characters, and most of these characters would only be likable if you are a Twitter-obsessed computer geek and not actually somebody other than that. So whatever the case, they copy from what these so-called online movie critics think are good characters, and they give you some garbage game that looks fancy, doesn't look pretty like I said, but looks expensive, and thus it's a AAA game. And they follow a specific formula. Really what it is, you have some kind of combat mechanic or gameplay mechanic you've seen a million times before, to the point where you don't need a tutorial, you don't need a manual online, you just can pick up the controller and you know what you're doing. Oh, third person, sort of hack and slash. I know the buttons I need. Oh, third person shooter. I know the button. Oh, first person shooter. You get the point, right? But the thing that people don't seem to understand is the reason why these games are like this is not just because of laziness, but also they're trying to validate themselves, appeal to a certain concept, and that is video game journalists or video game critics, and eventually the video game awards. This souped up wannabe Emmy Award thing that tries to turn a bunch of one percenters, offsprings, fringe enjoyment into something so much more important so that we can all buy it, because all of us 95 percenters or 99 percenters here in the United States just have to do what we're told. We just have to do what the 1% owners tell us to do. And they're telling us now, since everyone's into the computer, everyone's got a phone that's pretty much a PC, we have to like video games now. And they have to be like movies now. So we're not looking at the gameplay. Gameplay is sub stuff. The main idea is to wow me, or the consumer, with a bunch of cutscenes. And these cutscenes are bland, they're boring, as are the games. So when you see these recent titles, like Hellblade or Stellar Blade, the aforementioned, or any other Blade or whatever, they fall under these dynamics. But the reason why people want to make them into something more is because they look realistic. And in Stellar Blade's defense, the main character, the 16-year-old looking Korean doll, likes to dress up in skanky clothes despite the fact she's trying to fight creatures that are destructive forces with just a stellar blade. And they sort of, every now and then these games try to change up the mechanics once in a while. So like in that game, you have a period where you use a giant cannon that pretty much obliterates all the enemies. In Hellblade, I think you crawl sometimes? I don't know. But whatever the case, these games are the same shit over and over, and they are worth a lot of money for very little substance. So what I would like to suggest to all of you, and you don't do what I'm telling you you should do, because I'm not telling you you should do anything, but what I suggest is to just dump them. Forget them, because that's the problem. It's not so much the companies. The companies will continue to make this shit. It's you that keeps buying it and keeps complaining about it. And yes, every now and then there'll be one that's a little bit more polarizing, but for the most part, they're going to give you the same hemmed up, dumbed down experience that was made specifically for people that are going to judge it based on their cutscenes and the amount of work they put into the graphics as opposed to the gameplay. Folks, if there was a console war, it's over. Nintendo produced a movie that made over $1 billion in a month and will give you apparently an entire universe. They have a theme park coming. The Switch console is going to be the highest selling console of all time, and now it seems the new one is going to focus a little bit more on production power. If that's the case, there's no point anymore. That is real gaming. Those are real video games. What's the game of the year this year? Is it Stellar Blade or Hellblade or anything like that? No, it's probably either Princess Peach Showtime or Mario vs. Donkey Kong, because those were fun games to play, which is one of the many things that Nintendo has over everybody else. So I would suggest you do the smart thing, dump the so-called AAA titles, tell them to go fuck themselves like I did a long time ago, and just focus on Switch games. Not many of us that are Switch exclusives, and I'm certainly not popular enough to engage you in my highly viewed and liked video, whatever you'd want to call it. I would say prowess, but then I'd be reusing the word prowess. But whatever the case, I know that nobody listens to anyone that has less than 50,000 or 500,000 even subscribers. They're the ones that don't get insulted every time a statement is made or whatever. But for me to try to help all of you, I would suggest you take your little consoles, your AAA consoles, throw them in the dumpster. Don't download another game that's cost $70 from your bank account or parents' bank account, whatever it is, only for you not to be able to get your money back because you didn't like it. Tell them to go take a walk. Besides, most of those games eventually will be on the Switch or the next Nintendo console anyway, so what does it matter? You don't have to waste your money on it now. But you do you. Whatever makes you happy. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm just giving you a suggestion and why I stopped playing these games. But go ahead, play some more of these monochromatic, gray, bland backgrounds with a realistic looking person who is based off an actual human being. Keep looking at women's asses because that's all you like about women, as it seems, and whatever else, get your rocks off. I don't care. It's your life, not mine. I just thought I'd give you a little bit of a suggestion. I thank you all for watching. I have more for you soon to come, so stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.